Theft of Swords, Volume 1 in the Rhyria Revelation series by Michael J. Sullivan, published in 2011. Synopsis. I think the Amazon tag says it quite nicely. They killed the king, they pinned it on 2 men, they chose poorly. Voila. Should you read this book? Hell yes, it's a lot of fun. It's been a while since I read a Sword and Sandals epic that was this enthralling. Reality is I buy a lot of ebooks, like a lot of ebooks, and sometimes I don't know what brought me to buy one of those in the first place. Some of these get put on the back burner for quite some time, and this was one such case. Who knows why I bought it? It doesn't have a particularly appealing cover, and I'd never heard of the series or author before. Because of that, it's been sitting in my Kindle library for a couple years now. But man, is this worth reading, starting with the core characters. I thoroughly enjoyed the banter between Royce and Hadrian. They have very distinct personalities and fascinating pasts. Anytime they divulge anything about their backstories, my ears perked up because I really wanted to know more about these characters. Why is Royce so brooding? Where did Hadrian acquire his skills with a sword? These two make for a rather interesting pair of protagonists, given their role in the broader story, mainly because they're not interested in that broader picture. They just want to make enough money to get by and enjoy their lives in relative quiet. And the broader story, it's well realized. It's not always that interesting. I got more information on the politics and history of this realm than I generally enjoy, but it does help to distinguish this series from others. Unfortunately, and this is a problem I have with a lot of books, there is a ton of time spent following other characters. I get why we have it. Royce and Hadrian, they may not be interested in the broader picture, but the author certainly is. The additional perspectives, these clue us into what's happening in the world at large. They're just not that compelling of perspectives. Most of the time they popped up, I found myself a little annoyed. Then there is this trial sequence that bothered me for 2 reasons. 1, it brought the story to a complete halt, and 2, it made one of the characters who I was never able to get on board with look really dumb. This character did multiple things early on in the story that struck me as unnecessarily harsh, pointlessly so, even dangerous, and I was waiting for some sort of explanation. Seems it's all just in here to make our villain seem clever. There's also a character named Myron, who was a bit on the cartoony side. I was baffled by his obliviousness given what we're told about him, and he's not the only cartoony character in this novel. At times, the book actually feels like a cartoon. Also, given the opening of this book, I was expecting a lot more action. There isn't much of anything along those lines till a good third of the way into the text, and even that isn't terribly captivating. Furthermore, there's a very cliche plot device used later in Book 2 that only exists to draw our characters back into the story. That's right, this story isn't always that original. Oh, right, and it's comprised of 2 books, for some reason. When Sullivan wrote out the words Volume 1 on the cover, he meant it. There are 2 distinct novels in here. We have 2 very similar setups because how else are you going to justify including these 2 books under the same title? Followed by 2 loosely connected adventures and a lot of mumbo-jumbo politicking in the background. Because of this divide, the momentum of the volume comes to a complete stop in the middle. It took me a long time to get back into the story with the second book. The smaller contained adventure is interesting enough, but the stuff around it, not so much. It picks back up eventually. It just takes a while. In conclusion, Theft of Swords is definitely worth reading. It may not reach the complexities of the Kingkiller Chronicles, but it's up there with Awarded Man. There's a little red sea under red sky as well. Anyway, that's all I've got. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Peace.